I get money, I spend money like it's none of me.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Q's Hot Takes. And on today's show, I got my guy Q with me, and we're gonna be breaking down the Tank Davis fight versus Frank Martin. Q, so how you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Definitely glad to be back on here, bro, for sure.
Oh yes, sir. Usually when we're on here, it's usually either about Central and West Ham State or the Cowboys about to play your
Cowboys and
command.
the Commanders. Yeah.
So it's good to talk about something different this time around.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But before we get into that, I want to talk about first the Celtics winning the championship, and then we're gonna get into some breaking news that happened today. The Lakers named their new head coach. Let's get into that on sizzling headlines. So, Q, what were your thoughts on the NBA Finals and the Celtics winning their 18th championship? It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I think more importantly, it surprised me because I think the numbers said that the last I can't remember what team it was, but the last like preseason favorite, mid-season favorite to win the finals. I think it was like a while back, maybe like 10 or 11 years. So
Gotcha.
I think that was cool to kind of like break that barrier. Um, but I'm a big fan of basketball, man, and like as you can see, like the Celtics as a team collectively, they just bought in. You could tell how they gelled. It's like they move so effortlessly. So it's kind of like for them, it all made sense. You just seen two different brands of basketball, right? Luka demanding the ball, pick and roll, getting his guys kind of in the right spots. But for the Celtics, 1 through 5, anybody could give you 20. So like I think when you play in a team like that, it's like it's just hard. But give credit to the Mavs for getting there. I definitely didn't have them getting there. So
For sure.
them kind of getting there and just being there. I mean, they competed. For the most part, they competed in almost every game. The last game was a blowout. They were down 20 in I think game two. And they came back and kind of made it a game. So they competed. But I just think the Celtics kind of gave everybody kind of like that script of you need your you need your guys, but you need your guys to have their guys too. So
For sure. And yes, that was game one when the Celtics they had that crazy
okay.
hard start,
Mm,
and then the Mavs eased their way back in, and then the Celtics kind of pulled away at the end. But yes,
mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I just think the Celtics, like you said, 1 through 5, they were just locked in, and I think the way that they made things so difficult for the Mavs, especially their defense, I think was the biggest thing. It seemed like the Mavs they had to work a lot harder than they had to in previous series, and I
Yeah,
think the Celtics they did a great job. Obviously, you're not going to shut down Kyrie and Luka completely, but I think they made them work harder than the other teams that the Mavs had faced up until this point. And
absolutely.
I think the Celtics, this was just finally their time. They had been so close. They got into this moment so many times before, and they came up
Mm-hmm.
short. So this was going to be probably their best opportunity to win one. And I think them adding Drew Holiday, I think that was a piece that finally pushed them over. Because I know when the Bucks had landed Dame, I thought that they were going to be the favorites,
Yeah,
and then injuries kind of hurt them, and Giannis wasn't healthy. Uh, Dame wasn't 100% as well, and Chris Middleton he was in and out. So that just goes to show you everything has to be right for your team to make it to the finals, and you got to avoid those injuries. So salute to the Celtics. We'll have to see if they're able to retain their pieces because when you win a championship, those role players they kind of we saw
well,
with
that
the
money.
Nuggets. Yeah, that Bruce Brown he wanted his money and he went elsewhere, and that kind of hurt them from getting back to the finals. So we'll have to see. I know Al Horford does he retire because he's finally got that ring? Does he kind of hang it up? He's at the last leg of his career, but I think they have everybody else locked up pretty
Yeah,
much. So just have to hopefully maintain that bench. Those bench guys, hopefully they don't try to go nowhere and want more money. But that starting five, I think they're pretty locked in for a couple years. So um, just have to maintain those bench pieces. And I think the Celtics, if they're able to do that, I think they'll probably be the favorite in the East again next year. I would say.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So I said it on Twitter, and people kind of like they were one and done. But I definitely think Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. I think they'll win at least one or two more before it's all said and done. because they're just too talented and they're a special young duo. And I think that's what really impressed me, the way that they, especially Jaylen Brown, early in the series, his defense. I think that was setting the tone. He was blocking shots. He was really locked in on defense. And Tatum, I know people were, talking about how he wasn't scoring, so he wasn't affecting the game, but he was doing stuff in other categories to impact the game. So it's not always about scoring. So we have to see what this team can do next year, but I definitely think they'll be one of the favorites to win.
Absolutely.
So Q, the earlier today, the Lakers named their new coach, JJ Redick. He has a 4-year deal. So what are your thoughts on this? I know JJ Redick said he wants to get some experience on his coaching staff. So how do you think this will play out in LA? I know you're a Bron fan.
Yeah. I think, bro, that it can work out. But I think the key to it is, like you just mentioned, like, what is the staff gonna look like, right? So we know this is his first time, you know, coaching outside of coaching. I think his kids like AAU team or something like that. So
I think so, yeah.
it's gonna be different. It's gonna be different for him as far as being in that position as the head coach. I'm not worried about one thing that I'm not worried about is his ability to make adjustments, call out sets, make sets, have adjustments to the adjustment. Because we've seen that on the Mind the Game podcast. So he's a very smart mind when it comes to being on the floor and getting your guys into the position to where they are the best at. I think that's something that the Lakers haven't had in the past years. So I think he'll do great in doing that. But it's about building that staff. We done heard names as far as, Monty Williams as being a possibility. I know somebody mentioned earlier Rajon Rondo probably being a possibility for the staff. Maybe he brings back Phil Handy. Everybody around the league loves Phil Handy. So maybe he does that. But I think getting some guys that have had head coach experience to kind of be maybe his top 2 assistants will make the most sense. So I can see why people are mentioning the Monty Williams, and I'm not sure kind of, who else would. I don't know if Sam Cassell would leave Boston to come to LA and be
That's true.
an assistant, So I don't know if he would do that. Or Jared Dudley. I heard Jared Dudley name being mentioned a little bit. I don't know if they want to leave that current situation to come to what the Lakers have. But if he could pry and, get 2 of those 3 guys, I think that's off to a solid start as far as, building his staff. But it's gonna take time, man. I mean, you got LeBron James, at age 40, still being able to, play at a top 5, top 10 player level this year. Anthony Davis, the type of guy he is. So I think it's just more so now about filling out the rest of that roster, finding some guys that you can kind of, make it work with. They have the 17th pick in the draft, so I don't know if they're gonna, keep whoever they draft or trade it or do whatever, but I think that pick would be important, just making sure whether you want to go with, a big, so you can put 80 back at the 4, which is where I think he's more comfortable and where the Lakers are better at. Or do you want to get some wing help, with Bron being a lot older, playing the 4, guarding the slower guys, not really having to be out there with the guys that move a little quick. So I think that's kind of like the main things that you kind of like have to address. I would love for him to be able to have somebody that can really develop talent. I think the Lakers got a lot of talent in their camp that we haven't been able to see, i.e. Max Christie. People are big on him. 6'6" wing, long arms, can defend, can shoot it. So interested to see what JJ Redick can do with his development. Maxwell Lewis is another guy that's on that roster that you hear, good things about. So I'm just interested to see how y'all puts it together, and how they mesh with how he meshes in the locker room with the guys, which I don't think it'll be an issue. He was in the locker room with these guys, so I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. I just think more so just him being adjusted, getting adjusted, making sure he picks the right staff around him, and at the end of the day, just kind of being who he is. We're not asking him to come out here and be Greg Popovich or Phil Jackson, everybody like that. We just want him to, come in and do his job and make sure the Lakers are, competitive and where they, need to be. And the standard is the standard in LA. They want to win championships. So how can you get them back to that pinnacle would be definitely a challenge that he has to kind of, work through. But I think if he's given the time to acumen, resources, the supporting cast and things like that, I think he definitely can bring something back to LA.
Yeah, so I think you hit it on the head with everything, and I think the biggest thing is hopefully he can get Monty Williams on his staff because I think that's probably the top target that he wants to land, and that's just crazy. All the money Monty Williams is making from the Pistons and the Suns. Uh,
Man.
I don't know if I want to coach again making all
Right,
that money.
sure. 65 million, I sit at the crib.
Yeah, I'd probably go find a vacation house on the island somewhere. But I think that'd be a good choice. Like you said, Sam Cassell, what do you want to leave Boston? They're more stable right now. They got a better roster. They're coming off a championship. Would he want to leave that? Like you said, that makes you wonder. Jared Dudley, that's another good one. Rondo, I think the guys they would love Rondo as an assistant coach. He has a lot of knowledge, and like you said, the biggest thing they just need to be patient with him because, like we were talking about before we came on air, this team is not ready to win championships right now. It's going to take a minute, but hopefully free agency is about to start in another week or so. So hopefully they're able to get some pieces to make things easier for Bron and AD. Like you said, maybe getting a big that way they can move AD to the 4 spot because I think that's where he's better at. I don't think you want him banging against guys like Jokic and Embiid. I think he'd be better at the 4 spot. So maybe if they can find a big, maybe in the draft or in free agency, that'd be really good. Getting some wings, getting some shooting. So we just have to see. But I think JJ Redick's gonna be a good coach. When he's calling games, and like you said on the podcast with Bron, he knows what he's talking about. So I think the biggest thing, the Lakers just have to be patient with him and don't think he's gonna turn this thing around in 1 year. It's gonna take a couple years.
Yeah.
So just patience. I think that's the biggest thing. So Q, let's go ahead and jump into it. This past Saturday, Javante Tank Davis fought Frank Martin. And Tank had Frank Martin seeing ghosts in that 8th round when he knocked him out. He got him on the ropes and unloaded bombs. First, he hit him with an uppercut, and I think Frank Martin was out on his feet after that. And then Tank
Yeah.
hit him with that left, and he hit his head on that canvas, and it was a wrap.
Like
So I know you said after the fight, Tank needs to fight somebody that's worth it. So what were your thoughts on the fight?
To be honest, I mean it was a cool fight. I think it was cool for a lot of people who weren't familiar with Frank Martin to kind of see him on that level. But he's don't take nothing from him, he's a damn good fighter. But you know, Tank just that's a different beast, that's a different class. So for me, it was just more so about the inexperience definitely showed. Frank came in there, he was punching the first 2-3 rounds, he was punching. And if you want to hopefully beat Tank and be able to last in the ring with him, you got to be able to pace yourself. So I think by like round 6, 5, 6, Frank he looked gassed already. So for me, I think he overdid it. He overstepped a little bit. I think he worked the ropes too much. He got too comfortable on the ropes.
Way too comfortable.
Yeah, and he didn't have a counter. I mean, all he had was that jab, that straight jab. That straight jab was connecting. The first 3 rounds. But when some legs get a little tired, you get a little wobbly. You ain't got that same punch power no more. So them things probably felt like pillows to Tank when it got to the 6th and 7th round. And then we all know that's Tank bread and butter. That's when he like to put the pressure on you and see where you at. And unfortunately for Martin, he just ain't have it. So it was just also a teaching lesson for him. He was on the main stage. He got some experience. More people were to see him, so I'm pretty sure he had some new fans too. But yeah, that inexperience just showed, man. He just wasn't able to last those 12 rounds, which I knew he wasn't. But just the competitor in me, I'm like, man, I hope he go 12 rounds just because. But in my mind, I knew it was gonna be over about round 8 or round 9. So once we got to there, and I seen he landed that uppercut. He was sleep on that uppercut. He didn't have to hit him with that left. That was just the cherry on top, and then that was over for him. Yeah.
All right. So I agree with you. I definitely think the fight was over once he landed that uppercut.
Hmm.
Because you could just see it that Frank Martin was just out on his feet, and then once he landed that left hand, of course it was over with. And Frank was talking about after the fight, he guessed he didn't make the count, and it's no getting up once you hit your head on the canvas like that. Um, but like you said, early in the fight, he was doing good, moving. He was landing some good shots on Tank. Uh, but I definitely think him going backwards and fighting off his back foot, I think that definitely wore him down. And Tank was talking in the corner about how he was letting Frank wear himself down, and then he was going to start attacking. So uh, I definitely think that's what happened. Frank, I think this was a tough weight cut for him because they had the weigh in at 3 in the afternoon in Vegas. So it looked like uh, during the weigh in, it looked like Frank was sweating like he had just left the sauna or something.
Hmm.
Because having to carry all that weight all day probably didn't help him. So he probably needed an early weigh in because Tank came in at 133. So it was an easier weight cut for him. So he was the fresher fighter in there. So I think that also affected Frank that he's a bulky guy for 135. He's got to carry all that muscle. So I think that definitely zapped his gas tank a lot quicker than he was probably expecting. And uh, Tank got him out of there in the 8th round. Uh, so Tank has knocked out 20 of his last 21 opponents. The only guy that's went the distance with him is Pitbull Cruz. And Tank's, as he was saying in that fight, his hand was messed up. But Pitbull gave him some problems in that fight.
Hmm.
Q, do you want to see that fight again, or who do you think Tank should fight next?
I would love the Pitbull fight again. I think his style is something that a lot of people kind of need to look at in the sense of kind of making it in a fight. Um, Power, the having the strong chin, like those shots he was taking, he was able to kind of recover fast from them. I would definitely love to see that fight again for sure. But just for the culture, man, like I want to see the big names fight the big names. So I would love to see that secure fight. Him and Shakur Stevenson. I would love to see that. Um, I know my boy down right now, but even possibly, later down the road, him and Devin Haney. Like I want to see the big names fight the big names. Um, I know they said Lomachenko out there. I ain't
Yeah,
really too fond. I ain't really too fond of that one, but just but more so for the state of boxing, and for us the fans, we always want to see the best against the best, right? So, and I think those guys are kind of like the top of the boxing world as far as being at their weight and stuff like that. So I would definitely love to see any one of them for real. The pitbull fight definitely would be. A lot of people would love to see that because of the first one went the distance. Tank said his hand was messed up, so was it really the hand or is Pitbull really that great of a fighter?
and he got
Kind of
on him.
right. Kind of so we can answer some of those questions. But if I'm Tank, I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that fight again though,
Yeah,
simply
'cause it was really
because
close.
it was so close. It was so close. I don't know if I want that fight again because I don't want to give anybody the idea of anything. Because if you're tanking, you go in that fight and you lose. Now people like the Angel Reese, what they gonna say now? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
kind of just being in the realm of that. But yeah, man, I just like to see the top guys fight the top guys. And like I said, I'm new to like being a real fan to boxing. So I'm really starting to get more in tune with the names and everybody that's kind of like consistent and who everybody likes to see. So I think just for the culture, man, let's get the Stevenson fight going, the Lomachenko fight going. Right now those are the two that you hear the most. So one of those two for sure. If not, then we can do the Pitbull fight again.
Yeah, so it looks like right now, it's being reported that Bob Arum, they're gonna work on talks next, ramping talks back up next week for him and Lomachenko to unify the WBA and the IBF titles in November. So that looks like the fight that they're gonna be trying to work on. But like you said, I really want the Shakur fight. I don't know if you saw the thing that Top Rank they put out about a week ago, but Antonio Leonard from Shakur Stevens' team said that they went to Baltimore 4 or 5 years ago and smoked Tank's A. So I don't know how true that is,
Ooh,
but he was pretty hyped when he said
ooh,
it. So I really
oh,
want to see that fight.
oh man,
'Cause
yo, we need that.
Tank don't want no goddamn smoke from Shakur Stevens. We already done went to Baltimore and smoked his ass 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was. He can get it.
the thing that you always hear with that fight is, does Shakur have enough power to keep Tank off of him? And I think if you're gonna beat Tank, you need to have some powers where he's not gonna be able to walk you down. Because Frank Martin, in their fight, he was tagging him early on when Tank was trying to walk him down. But as the fight wore on, that, like you said, that power it started to zap, and it wasn't the same as it was in them early rounds. So you're gonna need to have some power for 12 for the whole fight. You can't wear down. So I really want to see that Shakur fight early next year. I know he's fighting in November, so maybe March, April, May
Mm-hmm.
we can get that
April,
fight.
May, yeah,
Something like, but that's the fight I'm dying to see. I'll pay whatever for that fight. I ain't
got
gonna,
to,
I ain't gonna
got
boost,
to.
I ain't gonna boost that one.
No, I can't have no skipping. No skipping. I need that fight clean.
Yeah, that's why the previous fight with Frank Martin, because my streaming site, I ain't gonna give it away, but it's been tripping lately. So I definitely didn't want no skipping during like the key
Yeah,
moments of the fight. So I had to just go ahead and pay that. I think it was $75. I just had to,
$5. Yeah,
yeah.
man. Yeah,
So whatever him and Shakur, whatever the price is, I'll just go ahead and eat that
got to go ahead and do it, bro.
because I think that's gonna be like one of the best fights that they can make out here in boxing. And I hope it's not like the Garcia fight. The only thing, I'm a big Tank fan, but I didn't like how he got Ryan at 135. I think Ryan was killing himself to make 135, and then
Yeah,
Tank
man.
and Tank didn't want him to rehydrate. I didn't like that because
Yeah, it's a disadvantage for the opponent, man. Like you said, it's easy. It's an easier cut for him to make than a lot of
Tank,
guys, man. So it's
Tank a little
yeah,
little guy. So
yeah, man. So that yeah, that rehydration clause and all that stuff, man. They gotta we gotta work on that.
yeah, that's one of the only things I don't like about Tank. He loves to throw that rehydration clause in there because he don't want guys to be at that full strength fighting them. It seemed like. And you saw with Garcia, he couldn't make 140, but you saw,
Good.
you saw, there's reported he was dirty, but you saw he tore Devin up, regardless. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that makes a big difference in the result, him being on whatever they say he's on? Do you think that's
You know, man. I'm like I said, I'm a big Devin guy. Devin's my guy. Like when it comes to boxing, that's my boy. So I think does it play a factor in a sense? I think it could, if it gives you a little extra pop, a little extra juice. Um, but also Devin was boxing outside of what he normally does.
yeah, he
Um,
wasn't himself. I was like, who is this?
right. Devin normally sit back and he's defensive, you know what I'm saying? And he gets you with your jab, get the jab going, then you get the counter off of it. So for him, he was in that punching. I was like, Devin, you ain't never came out punching like that. Like, he kind of he's a defensive fighter. He kind of likes to react, right? So
Hmm.
you throw your first punch and let me see how I can kind of counter it, right? So that's Devin's style. So I think he got away from his style for sure. But then like I said, Ryan, doing what he's doing, um, just cheating the game. That's one thing that I kind of learned early on. Don't cheat the game, and the game won't cheat you.
No,
Um,
for sure.
so do I feel Ryan? Ryan probably would have beat him without it.
Yeah.
Given the way that Devin fought. Um, But now it's the speculation. It's just like, yo, we seen what happened. We seen you lost, but we don't know how this stuff affected your body. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what bro was taking, what it really make you do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah, I don't
I can't
I don't know how to pronounce it.
right,
So
right.
I'm
So
gonna try.
I can't really speak on if it gave bro like extra strength, extra power, or whatever. But um that's just the way it is. But But as you see today, they kind of, they changed to a no contest. So, you know, Devin is allegedly, undefeated again. But I mean, we like you said, we all seen it. Like no matter what go on, we all seen that. I just hope he kind of can, shake back and still get those big fights. Because to me, Devin is still an A-side fighter. So hopefully he's still able to kind of like get those fights. I know he tweeted he was going to take a year off or whatever. So hopefully next year, we kind of can get whatever fight we need. I mean, shoot, even if I don't know how you feel about it. Even if you want to be like, all right, bro, like you got me dirty, but next year when you come back, can we run it back? Like, can we see what's really going? I don't know. I don't know how they gonna feel about that his camp, or whatever. But he gotta weigh his options and come back with some quality fights to kind of make people realize like, all right, this he slipped up, but this who Devin really is. Like he him. So kind of just gotta reestablish himself in the boxing game.
Yeah, I think like his next fight, I think he's got to come out and like I think he's gonna want to remind people I'm Devin Haney. Now, Devin Haney, I'm cool with, but his dad, his dad, his
Yeah,
dad,
man.
I'm not a big fan of his dad. His dad talks too much to me. He
And
comes
he
off
ain't
as
in the ring. And he ain't in the ring. You talking and you ain't in there taking no punches.
yeah. So his dad rubs me the wrong way, but Devin, I'm all right. But he's a heck of a fighter, like you said. But his dad is the reason why I'm so against Devin. It's because his dad does all
Yeah,
that
man.
talking. But like you
Yeah.
said, Ryan, the way Devin looked that night, whether he was dirty or clean, I think Ryan still would have beat him because Devin wasn't ducking no punches. He wasn't moving his feet. He was, like when Tank fought him, even though Ryan was, you know, drained. Tank did a great job. He said all I had to do was watch out for that left hand, and he kept hitting Devin with that left hand, and Devin made no adjustments to it. So
No.
we have to see what Devin does. I was hoping after Teofimo fights next week, I'm just hoping we could get that fight before the end of the year. That'd be a big fight at 140. So we just have to see. I hope he doesn't wait on Ryan Garcia because I would love to see him get back in there against Teofimo or somebody before the end of the year. And just remind people that he's still one of the best fighters at 140, 147, wherever he fights at.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
So Q, I googled it, and it says it's used for weight loss, prevents your muscles for doing muscle catabolism during fat loss, whatever that means.
Mm.
I don't know if he was taking this to help him lose weight or what.
Lose weight. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, because he couldn't make 140. So I don't know if he must have not been taking enough of it. um, I know he said his supplements were tainted, but I don't know about that. 'Cause you're responsible for
Right.
goes in your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Ryan Garcia, of course, is going to be suspended for 1 year after this. I was thinking it was going to be 2 years, but I'm glad with just 1 year. Hopefully, he learns. Ryan, I think he needs to get some help because he's just been spiraling on Twitter. I had to unfollow, bro, because
Yeah, he out of control, bro.
yeah, especially the Caleb Plant thing last weekend. All them tweets about his wife. Yeah, you tripping. You asking to get
Absolutely.
hands put on you once you bring people's family
Absolutely.
up. And as we saw, as Ryan Garcia was leaving, Caleb Plant threw a drink on him, and Ryan's lucky he didn't do more because you talk about my wife, I'm stepping.
Yeah. We gotta we
Um,
gotta we gotta we gotta handle that.
for sure. Some other stats about Tank Davis: 16 of those 20 knockouts in his last 21 fights have come between round 1 and round 8. And in his last 4 fights, he's handed each of his last 4 opponents their first professional loss. It started with Rolly Romero, who I don't think is very good. He's another one of those guys that talks way too much and cannot back it up in the ring. And then in the beginning of 2023, he fought Hector Garcia. He hit him so hard on the top of his head. Bruh said he was blind. That was crazy. He said I couldn't see.
I
I,
can't see.
I just think he didn't want no more of that power.
Nah, that's all.
And then of course Ryan Garcia and April of last year, and then Frank Martin last weekend. So each of Tank's last 4 opponents, he's handed them their first L and he stopped them. So Tank is definitely
He a
when he
bad boy.
connects, Yeah, when he touches that chin, usually you go down. I don't know if you remember the Leo Santa Cruz knockout, but I thought bro was gonna have to get stretched out out of there, bro. The way he landed
Bro,
that uppercut.
it'd be so scary, bro. It's like, and they know that uppercut coming, and they still can't do nothing about it. Like they be knowing, bro. They be knowing.
I have to go back and look at some highlights, but I feel like most of these knockouts come when he gets guys on them ropes and he
Yeah, you
just
get him on that rope, and it's always it's the uppercut. Like either that's the knockout punch, or he connect
with
and
that
you know
left
what I'm saying, he
hand.
catch with that left hand, or that right coming over the top. Like literally, man, it's the same combo. But when you master it, bro, it's like what you gonna do about it? Like you know, after a while, people lose their discipline.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that Tank don't get enough credit for is his IQ in the ring. You know.
Hmm.
So we just have to see. Hopefully, it looks like Loma's next, and then like we said, hopefully that Shakur fight happens early next year. Man, I'm dying to see that fight. I don't want it to be
Absolutely.
like I don't want it to be like Spence and Crawford, where they waited too long to fight, and then Spence gets lumped up.
Right.
I don't
Right.
want it to be like that because I feel like him and Loma should have fought a couple years ago when Loma's not.
And and that's how I feel about the Loma fight now, man. It's like like
I want this
now,
fight a
like
couple years ago.
right, like bro, like I think if I'm not mistaken, Loma like 30, 35,
36,
35,
30.
36. So it's like, bro, like, it's one of those things where it's like, and I hate it, but I don't want Tank to start getting, the Floyd treatment. Remember how I used to do Floyd, say, Floyd waited too long to fight
Oh
Manny
yeah,
Pacquiao,
yeah.
things like that. So it's like, I don't want him to get that treatment, bro. So that's why I say I want him to fight the guys that we
When they in their
consider the good
prime.
guys in their prime. So nobody can say nothing about Tank now. Like, what I'm saying? He's that guy. Like, let's
Sure.
make sure that's straight. I want everybody to know Tank Davis is that guy. But I just want to make sure that nobody's able to be like, oh well, he waited till Loma was 36. He could have fought Loma when he was 30. Like just things like that. So I just wanted to be kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, man, that boy didn't dodge no smoke. He fought who he fought the best of the best, lined him up, took him down, you know, because I'm sure he wants to be in that conversation of being the greatest fighter of all time. So he got to rack up them quality wins to be able to do so. But he's on pace to be one of the greatest boxers of all time, though, for sure.
So Q, one thing I want to ask you about is, how late last year, how Frank Martin was supposed to fight Shakur, and I think that would have helped him a lot in this fight if he had got that uh experience against a top level guy. Now I think Shakur probably would have beat him, but I think getting that experience, why do you think that fight fell through? What do you think Frank just wasn't ready, or what do you think it was?
I think it was a combination of that, and I just think too that I knew Frank probably knew he wanted this Tank fight, and I don't think that if Frank fought Shakur and lost, that he would have fought Tank this year.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think he played it smart. I think that's what I'm gonna say. He knew that he was in line to get that Tank fight sooner or later, to get that payday. This is my example of it. To get that
Yeah,
that
you're good.
payday, of course,
Hmm.
that exposure, that experience. But if he would have fought Stevenson and lost that fight, he would not have gotten this
Okay,
Tank
yeah,
fight.
that
So
makes
I
sense.
think that's kind of like something that a lot of folks not thinking about. They always say like, negotiations fell through, this, that, and the third with the money, whatever. Whoop, whoop. Um, but that's how I would view it. If I was a fighter and I knew that, hey, next year I got the potential to fight this guy. I can fight this top guy, or I can fight this guy that's a tune-up fight, or whatever, or not fight at all because I know I'm gonna get this big fight next year. So for me, it's like I'm not about to risk the opportunity to have that big fight and losing the fight the year prior. So I think that's kind of how I would like assess it. Maybe that's the way he thought about it. Maybe not. Um, maybe I doubt. I ain't gonna say he was scared. I mean,
Nah,
so
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
I
I
don't
ain't
think
gonna
that
say he
was.
was scared. I don't think he was scared, but I just think that was the best scenario to me, that he knew he was getting this Tank fight possibly, and he knew the consequences of losing to a Shakur Stevenson the year before probably would have hindered that. So
Yeah, so I'm excited to see Shakur fighting in about 2 weeks here, man.
Oh yes,
You know,
sir.
man, he's fighting the guy that Frank just fought, who gave Frank a hard time. But
Okay,
Shakur,
yep.
I think Shakur gonna want to go in there and make a statement because people have been
Make a
talking
statement.
crazy.
Yeah, they've been talking crazy. Shakur, my guy. I love Stevenson, man. I love his style too. So yeah, the young guy's definitely taking over, man, with this boxing stuff right now for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I hope all of them fight each other. You know, that's one thing. Uh,
Right.
don't be worried about losing that zero. That's what we're starting to see a lot more with these younger guys. Don't be afraid about losing that zero. You know,
But the thing is, like most of the great fighters, bro, that we consider like the top 5 guys, top 10 guys, bro, they lost their zero. Like you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it ain't even about that, bro. Like that don't matter. Like
oh
you know what I'm saying? You being 40-0 and you retiring, now people questioning the competition that you fought. 40-0. I mean, it looked good, but if you 35-5 and you lost to Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, like you know what I'm saying? You losing
yeah,
to
you lost
quality
to some
guys.
dogs.
You know what I'm saying? So it looks a little different than you 40-0 and you fought 20 of the guys was, just rising up, just came through the amateurs or whatever. So it's like it just looks a little different. So I don't, like you said, I just don't want no guys to be afraid to fight each other, man, because at the end of the day, if you end with a 0, a 1, or a 2, at the end of the day, that 1 or 2 was quality guys. Nobody ain't gonna knock you for losing to nobody's knocking Frank Martin for losing to Tank Davis.
He gained a
You know what
fan out
I'm
of me.
saying? You know what I'm saying? Like nobody ain't saying, "Oh yeah, bro can't box, he trash," and nobody's saying that. Like you lost to one of the greatest fighters of all time when he's done. Like you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's how I look at it.
For sure. Q, I want to thank you for coming on, man. It's always fun when you come on the podcast. You
Yes,
know we're going to have
sir.
to get together this fall when football season comes around, and we're going to have to get you on here when your commanders play my Cowboys for sure.
This all year, man. This all year.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous now. Y'all didn't got a quarterback. I don't know if I'm able to talk trash. That's
Yes,
all.
sir.
That's all y'all were missing was a quarterback.
Yes, sir, man. Thank God.
So yeah, Jaden Daniels. I think he gonna wake some people up.
Yes, sir.
So take care of yourself, man, and I'll definitely be in touch, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Like always, love being on here, bro.
Yes, sir.